Well, folks, we had a lot of movement on the New York investigation into the Trump organization happen yesterday. Multiple different stories coming out, all of them with new information. So I'm going to try to distill all of it here for you in a quick, handy little video. First and foremost, let's talk about the fact that Allen Weisselberg, the indicted chief financial officer of the Trump organization, his lawyers were in court yesterday where they told the court that they are confident that more indictments are on the way. Now, that's a very weird thing to say in court, right? You guys already been indicted. So why go to the court and be like, hey, look, we think there's more indictments coming. So what does that mean? Here's what I think it means. And again, at this point, because a lot of these proceedings, by the way, are sealed, which experts tell us is more evidence that the grand jury investigation is still ongoing. We can only surmise, basically give our best guesses as to why the lawyers would argue this point. And what I believe is happening here is that these lawyers do not want the case to yet move forward against Weisselberg because they need to know what other indictments are going to come down the pipeline. They can't properly prepare a defense for Weisselberg unless they know who all of the co-conspirators are. They've got to know everything that's out there. They've got to get their hands on whatever documents from other indictments might be out there because it might be relevant to Weisselberg's case. And depending on who it is, it could convince Weisselberg to flip, right? That's the big thing. And that to me is what really stands out about this is that depending on who gets indicted next, what they knew, what their position was, Weisselberg may say, okay, you know what? I think I'm screwed at this point. I want to change my plea and I want to, give you everything I got. So that's a real possibility. Another thing we learned, a man by the name of, Matthew Calamari. Matthew Calamari, who was a former, kind of bodyguard, and then he became the chief operating officer of the actual Trump organization. According to this, New York Times or Wall Street Journal, says that the investigation is focused on Matthew Calamari. They've lived in Trump organization apartments. Mr. Calamari's driven a company car. Earlier this month, his son, Matthew Calamari Jr., testified before a grand jury that continues to investigate the business affairs. Okay, so now you got Calamari. This really doesn't explain too much. The Wall Street Journal didn't exactly go into depth about why Mr. Calamari might be next up. Obviously, if he is living in these Trump, the Trump apartments, he's got the Trump car, those would be considered gifts. So it would be along the same lines as what Weisselberg had, kind of tiddlywink stuff, really not like hardened criminal activity here. So, on Calamari, right? That's not the big news. Here is one thing, though, and this, to me, biggest out of all of them, in addition to, obviously, more indictments coming down the pipeline, according to Weisselberg's lawyers, 3 million documents. 3 million documents were uncovered in the basement of an individual only identified as a co-conspirator, hidden in their basement. Ouch! Yeah, if everything's on the level, if you're keeping things on the up and up and you're not engaged in criminal activity, there's no reason to hide 3 million documents in your basement. And that's actually another point that Weisselberg's lawyers brought up in court. They held up this big package. They were like, look, they got 3 million documents and we got to go through them. So, give us some time here. So that I imagine is going to raise a heck of a lot of questions. Who is said co-conspirator? What is in those 3 million documents? We have to wait and see, because as of right now, we do not have answers. As of right now, we do not know who the next indictments could get. But one thing we do know is that this is moving forward. The grand jury investigation is still ongoing. Back in August, actually, you had Attorney General Letitia James and Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance actually went to court. They made a surprise appearance, it's being called. So they're not backing down off this. They're not done with this. We have a long ways to go. And if Weisselberg's lawyers are to be believed, there's a heck of a lot more indictments headed down the pipeline pretty soon.